So this is live, Sal.
Hey, hello. I was busy looking at my phone because Netflix, for some reason, makes recommendations to me. Did your Netflix make recommendations to you, Steve?
All the time. That's what they do.
I hope they recommend normal stuff to you, and maybe this is just because my kids sometimes use my Netflix. But I recommended for Sal just now was Gaga 5'2". I am not sure why they think I would like to watch Lady Gaga, but evidently that's a recommendation for me. Perhaps, Steve, the next time the Oakland Raiders take the field, I will watch Lady Gaga instead of the Oakland Raiders because that's not good for anybody to watch any longer. It's so bad. It's so brutal. A primetime game featuring the two Bay Area teams, a little, interstate rivalry out there around your neck of the woods.
Right across the bay. That is a close rivalry.
Yeah, very, very close. You saw the preview before the game on Fox where they had what's the that big dude who used to play for the Patriots. Big guy with a W in his name. I can't remember his name.
Willie McGinnis?
No, not him. He went into local areas in Silicon Valley and in the Oakland area, and he talked to the fans. Pretty interesting. But what you got on the field was the emergence of Nick Mullins. Nick Mullins, who had never thrown a pass in the NFL, took the field and obliterated the Raiders. The Raiders who have just Derek Carr come into the season. We had a big defensive player, a big young wide receiver, a big young quarterback, who incidentally, this group of gentlemen combined to go 12-4 with their teammates just 2 years ago. All the years of struggling after getting beaten by Gruden in the Super Bowl, all the patience that we had as fans. By the way, if you're listening, you don't know, I'm an Oakland Raider fan since I'm a wee little boy, but I've been on a boycott this year since they traded Marlon Mack. Steve will vouch for me. I said,
Khalil Mack?
What did I say? Marlon Mack? That's how pissed off I am, John Gruden, you jerk off. You got me saying Marlon Mack. Steve will vouch for me that the day they hired John Gruden, and I said, this is I don't like it. It's a bad deal. I was on our chats. It's such a bad idea. But I don't know, Raider fans out there, I don't know what you were thinking. You're all excited when it brought back Mr. 1998. Like this was going to be some resurgence of Back to the Future. It's 2018. The guy's clueless. He's shown that he's clueless. He's slowly picked off the talent on this roster. He's got guys on this roster that are healthy, that are effective players, that he's not playing. Release them. Let them go play for somebody. He traded away Amari Cooper last week, who's been, underperforming as of late. But we had the pieces in place. And then to watch what I had to watch last night, you know what? I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it because I want him to fail. I want John Gruden to fail, and I want him to want to leave. I want him to just realize that this was a bad idea. I saw somebody post something today. They felt bad for him because he seemed so happy and good in the booth. This man's making $100 million over the next 10 years. When you wake up in the morning to go to work on Monday, don't feel bad for John Gruden the way he screwed up an NFL organization. All right? Because nobody else was hiring this guy. It was a lot of talk, a lot of chatter for years. 10 years, maybe 12 years he was away from the game. Maybe it was even more than that. Nobody came and offered him the money. Nobody offered him part ownership of a team like that stupid bowl haircut, a little freak sits up there above there watching the games, has no goddamn idea what a football is from a golf ball. It's tough. It's tough to watch that, Steve. It's tough to be a fan.
I don't blame you.
I'm breathing heavy.
Yeah, I don't blame you. What we saw last night or on Thursday night was that was rough. And you knew something was weird because one, Kevin bet on the Raiders. That was a problem. You knew something was wrong right from the start. But the Raiders were getting points against a third-string defense or a third-string quarterback. I'm sorry. You knew that something weird was going to happen. And
that might have been a third-string defense. It might have been.
It might have been. It wouldn't have mattered. It would not have mattered. The Raiders just look absolutely awful. They put up 3 points against a team that was 1-7. That is, it's inexcusable.
Here's the good news. They came out and put those points up right away. Let's get those out of the way.
I don't understand. It is year one. I don't know. I don't know if John Gruden knew this year was going to be rough, so he just decided to cut bait using the excuse, these aren't my players. These aren't the guys that I brought in here. Contracts, blah, 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 blah. Now he's going to be able to start fresh. We've talked about all the draft picks that he has in the next few years. We're going to see what happens. And, in a few years down the line, if he is still there, we're going to know whether or not he just completely, set this franchise back, another 10 or 15 years or whatever it may be. And he's going to have the opportunity to make it or break it. So
part of me
it's got to be
excited over his having 5 first-round draft picks over the next 2 years and seeing what crap he's going to do with those picks.
Yeah, it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough. I don't know. I'm sorry, Sal. I really am. As a Broncos fan, I thought we were going to have the worst year in the division. So thank you.
No, the Raiders are always here to make your dreams come true. Your other 3 teams in the AFC West, we're here to make your dreams come true.
Well, we appreciate you here in the AFC West. I saw the
interview with Howie Long last night where he sat down and he says, "Hey, man, how was I to know that Khalil Mack was going to hold out?" Well, whether you knew or not, pay the man. Pay the Chicago Bears, who he's done nothing for, had no problem paying the man, and he made bigger difference on that team the first 5 games of the season. He disrupted everything, and he made that team. He changed the culture there almost by himself.
Yep.
And when you get first-round picks, you don't know what you're going to get in the future. You had a generational player. And I don't want to say, oh, he's a guy who comes once in a lifetime. People say that. No, there's other guys on Khalil Mack's level playing in the NFL, but there's guys that come along every 5 to 10 years. They're guys that when you get them, you don't let them go. They're the guys that when you see them out there, you want to go and get them. We just gave them away. I can't take it. I can't take it, Steve. I can't take it. We are in the Funhouse where I am now. I do the show twice a week, and it's usually with Kevin or Steve, but it's not with both.
That's right.
At this point, I just do it one or the other.
At least you're here. The people are getting what they want.
Yeah, right now it's half my face because I'm sitting close and the screen is cutting off because I'm old. I don't know how to work technology. Hold on, let me sit back. So, we're heading into week 9 already, Steve. I can't believe it. It's crazy. It's going to be a few more weeks from now. We're going to be looking at each other, both eliminated from the playoffs because we're awful, and just wondering what in the world happened to the football season. But until that time, let's talk about the games.
Yeah, we've got 12 of them. We got 6 teams on the bye this week, and I know that fantasy teams are hurting. I've got a few of them that have looked particularly ugly because of the old bye weeks, but there are some players that are playing as they tend to do each and every week. So let's talk about them. Shall we?
Not in Oakland.
And I thought with Oakland playing on Thursday night, we were going to get away with not having to talk about them. But alas, we've spent the first 8 minutes of the podcast talking about them.
Don't you time strap me, you son of a bitch.
All right. First up, the Chicago Bears with Khalil Mack, maybe not playing yet again, heading to Buffalo as 10.5-point favorites against the Buffalo Bills. We've talked about him numerous times on the podcast. Mitchell Trubisky, he's projected for 18.1 points. I believe he is a top 10 quarterback in fantasy football right now, but he's one of those Blake Bortles types where it has not looked good, but in fantasy, it doesn't have to look good as long as those points keep coming up. He is averaging 22.6 points a game. But, Sal, did you know Buffalo has allowed the least points to quarterbacks over the last 5 weeks? Only 6 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Trubisky, are you rolling him out there this week?
So Buffalo's been good lately, huh?
Not too bad. Against quarterbacks, which is probably because they don't have to throw the ball a lot against them.
Yeah, I mean, their offense can't score, so it's not like the other team's offense has to really work that hard. It's usually
exactly.
We play a half, we're done. I'll put Trubisky in there this week. It's a light week. I think, we're seeing the signs of another team that's probably about to give up along with Cleveland and Oakland this year. It's got to be any minute now in Buffalo. Yeah, but Trubisky's been really fantastic as of late, and I'm putting him out there for sure.
Putting him out there. So Derek Anderson's probably not starting. Josh Allen, we know, dealing with an injury. That means Nathan Peterman under center for the Buffalo Bills. Yuck, disgusting. But LaShawn McCoy's still there. He scored 12 points last week, and that was with 13 yards on 12 rushing attempts. He is projected for 11 points. Do you start LaShawn McCoy this week against the Bears defense?
Nathan Peterman, Nick Mullins is better than you, and the guy, they just found him. He was walking past the stadium, and they gave him a jersey, and he's better than you. That's
Kurt Warner 2.0.
Yeah,
Here
really
we go.
pretty sad. Um, it's McCoy's a guy I don't own anywhere because I knew better this year. And Chicago is really stout against the run. They spent most of the year ranked first against running backs. They've slipped a little bit, all the way down to third on the season. Um, Over the last 5, they've been sixth best, maybe somewhere in that range. We might be looking at 2 different charts, but they're in that area. I'm going to sit McCoy this week, but interestingly enough, I did see the organization come out and say that they really feel like they've still gotten plenty out of McCoy, and he will be a part of their 2019 plan. So
Yep.
we get to ignore him again next year.
Great. Maybe his value will drop so far this year that he becomes a value for next year. We never know, Sal. Don't try to predict the future.
He's no Frank Gore.
You'll end up like Kevin betting on the Raiders. What an idiot. All right. Trubisky, we just talked about him a little bit, but Allen Robinson not practicing does not look like he's going to go. Outside of Tariq Cohen and Jordan Howard, who you probably want to get in there as running backs on a team that are have a huge implied favorite, are there any wide receivers for this team that you want to get in there?
Anthony Miller's been decent as of late. Taylor Gabriel's been steady. He mostly relies on a ton of receptions. So in a PPR league, I'd probably go with Gabriel, but I don't know any of them are must starts. But it's a light week. 6 teams are out, so I wouldn't hesitate to play them if I was strapped for players.
All right, before we move on, do you want to guess the total for this game?
Who's playing again?
Who's playing? What game are we talking about? Is that what you're talking about? The Bears and the Bills?
It was a total joke. I'm going to say the implied total for this game, I'll say something like just under 40 points, 39 points.
Well, that's pretty good. That's close. It's 37.5. Ugly.
That's so brutal.
That's ugly. That's ugly. All right, we're going to move along. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers 6.5-point favorites here. And it's the return of Ryan Fitzmagic right off the bench, back into the starting lineup and projected for 20.6 points against the Panthers. Panthers have not allowed, or they've only allowed more than 20 points scored against them by an opposing quarterback one time out of their 7 games so far. Does Fitzmagic break that little trend there? And does he come right back and start putting up the points again?
I think he does. Maybe he doesn't hit 26, but I think that he'll get over 20. One of the stats we read on the show the other night was courtesy of Grant Barfield, posted on Twitter. And basically what it showed the 6 places or seven places the Tampa Bay quarterbacks have finished each week, even the combined weeks. And in 7 games, there were 3 QB1 finishes, like QB1 overall finishes, 3 other top 6 finishes, and 1 number 23 finish. It was the week that Fitzpatrick left and was to replace them, but it was a combined of the 2 of them together. So 6 top 6 performances from a Tampa Bay quarterback this year. You have to play him because they're going to throw the ball. They're going to throw the ball a ton downfield to Deshaun Jackson. Deshaun Jackson is a guy I want to get in there this week. You might have been asking about him, but I jumped the gun a little bit on that.
I'm not so good.
Yeah, get him in there because he's been even better with Fitzpatrick in there and O.J. Howard, all these. I want them all in there.
Now I'm mad. Well, O.J. Howard, I was going to bring him up. He is the tight end 7 heading into this week, and that is with him missing an entire game for an injury and already having his bye week. He is still tight end 7. Yet he comes into this game only projected for 7.3 points against a half-point PPR. He has only scored less than that one time.
Stupid projections.
And an easy over, I think, for O.J. Howard this week.
I'm going to try to find a prop bet somewhere with O.J. Howard's numbers, and I'm going to bet this. I have my rent money right here, cash. I'm going to hold it back from my landlord and just bet it all on O.J. Howard. Sounds like a good idea.
That's a smart move. And the last player I'm going to ask about, Cam Newton. He has the highest quarterback projection this week at 24.9 points. Give me the over-under on that.
Oh, I go over on that. Tampa Bay by far the worst, absolute worst against quarterbacks this year. So terribly brutal. He's going to run on them. He's going to pass on them. He's going to score on them. It is just atrocious.
All right, so DJ Moore, you putting him in? Is he a flex play this week?
DJ Moore is my sleeper wide receiver of the week on FanBall. As we discussed the other night, in week 8, he set the season and / career highs in snaps, routes run, targets. He caught 4 or 5 of those for 90 yards. He had his best game. He's getting comfortable. He's getting they're getting comfortable with him and the coaching staff. And number 2 wide receivers have scored 8+ points above their average when facing Tampa Bay this year. He is an absolute play this week.
All right. Is there anyone else from this game that you would like to discuss before we mosey on?
I don't think there's anybody we need to discuss. You know, the regular guys that you're going to start in there. You get McCaffrey in there. You get Olsen in there. Another good game for Olsen. And I'd start all my Tampa targets, except for Brate, probably. I think Brate is a touchdown-dependent guy at this point. So, yeah, that's it. Moving on.
All right. And we move along to what should be a great game in the Kansas City Chiefs, 10-point favorites at the Cleveland Browns. Why are you laughing? I don't understand.
I'm sorry. I had a tickle in my throat.
Oh, interesting. All right. Jarvis Landry. Projected.
By the way, shout out to all my Cleveland brothers and sisters. Another terrible organization. I feel your pain. But remember, we had Hugh first. By the way, here's a good question for you. Who finishes with more wins this year? Hugh Jackson or John Gruden? Right now, Hugh Jackson has 2.5 wins. John Gruden's 1.
I'll say John Gruden. I'll say he finishes the year strong.
The Raiders will get 2 more wins.
Makes a wild card play.
This is not a tickle in my throat. This is laughter.
Yeah, that was a joke. All right. Jarvis Landry, half-point PPR, projected for 12.7 points, even though that he has only hit that plateau. He's only hit that mark 3 out of Cleveland's first 8 games. Are you trusting in Jarvis Landry to eat up all this garbage time where they are going to have to try and keep pace with the Chiefs?
Yeah, he hit it last week, right? Did he have a 90 and change of a touchdown, or was that 2 weeks ago?
I believe that was last week.
Yeah.
He had a good week.
Yeah, put him in there, Jarvis Landry. I mean, this Kansas City defense is...
I'm not asking if you should start him or not. Come on.
He's going to hit it.
He's going to hit it.
He's going to go over it. 18 points this week for Jarvis Landry in full PPR.
Oh, that's weak. It's not very,
well,
it's not very bold.
15.5, and still goes over it in your half-point garbage that you play.
Okay. All right. Another wide receiver on the other team here. Tyreek Hill. Thank you. Yes. He is. Do you know how many points he is averaging a game in half-point PPR?
I know he's the number 2 overall wide receiver, I think, on the season.
That is correct. Not the question, but also correct.
I'm gonna guess he's averaging, I'm going to say 22 points a game.
Oh, my God. That's more than the number 1 wide receiver is averaging a game. 18.1 in a half-point PPR is quite a bit still, but only projected for 16.6. Now, he did have a little bit of a scare. He missed some practice time earlier this week with a groin issue, I believe, but was a full participant on Friday. So he's going to be good to go. 16.6 for Tyreek Hill, over-under.
Yeah, I go over on that, and I'm a little disappointed because I was all Sammy Watkins stuff this week. If Hill was going to be out, Watkins was going to be my man. But I'd still play Watkins too. But I say Hill over.
All right. I got to ask you about David Njoku. What happened last week?
Evidently, they forgot that he played for the team. And they threw the ball to Seth DeValve in the end zone. He caught a touchdown. So I'd pick Njoku up off the floor. I'd say, let's go, little buddy. And I'd send him right out there. I'd brush him off. I put him back in my lineup this week. 2 touchdowns for Njoku this week.
What do you think the largest lead of this game will be? You can bet on that, by the way.
The largest, you can bet on that. Where at my bookie?
I believe so. It's usually a prop, the largest lead of the game, over under a certain amount.
I will say at one point it will be a 21-point lead for Kansas City.
That's fair. No, you gonna put any money on the Browns to win straight up money line?
Yeah, I have a bunch of change over on my table.
Probably only take like $5 or something to make it worth it.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw it. I got at least 20 quarters over there.
All right. We're gonna move along unless there's anyone else that you want to talk about there.
Nick Chubb. I'd start Nick Chubb for sure comfortably. He didn't have a great week last week, but I'd be comfortable putting him in there against a very below average Kansas City run defense, almost the worst in the league at this point.
Yeah, he just didn't get into the end zone. They tried to get him in there a few times. Cleveland all year, when Carlos Hyde was there, when Nick Chubb has taken over, they give their backs an opportunity to get into the end zone. So yeah,
Hugh Jackson just was able to call the plays himself with different players. He would have been successful. The man actually said that. If we would have just changed absolutely everything, including the players and the play calling, we could have been successful. You were the head coach, you.
My God, awful. He's awful. I'm not a fan of that guy. All right, we're moving on. The Jets go into Miami to face the Dolphins. The Dolphins are 3-point favorites here. And we're going to talk about each of their quarterbacks. We've got the resurgence of Brock Osweiler in Miami, projected for 15.8 points against the sixth worst team against quarterbacks, with 12 touchdowns given up and only 5 interceptions. And then you have Sam Darnold projected for 14.6 points, going up against the 8th worst defense versus quarterbacks, with 14 touchdowns and 4 interceptions given up. Why are these guys' points totals projected so low if they're going up against such terrible defenses? And which of them do you give a better chance to beat their projection?
Do you think Sam Bradford is like, oh my God, Brock Osweiler starting his 4th game of the season, and here I am sitting behind Josh Rosen?
Is he impressed at his durability? is that what he's saying?
The reason that their point totals are so low is because they both stink.
Yeah. They're not great.
Brock Osweiler had that first game that was really, really good. He had a decent game after that, but he's just not good. He's Brock Osweiler. Sam Darnold is a rookie, and Sam Darnold will make plays that'll just blow your mind, and then he'll make plays that remind you he's a rookie, and he's still got some time away. So I missed what Darnold's over-under was. What was the projection?
14.6.
Yeah. I will give him a better shot at hitting his projection. I think the Jets will win the game. I think Miami's on a little bit of a spiral. They're 1-4, I think, over their last 5 after starting out 3-0. So not good, Miami, not good.
I will give you one chance to change your answer after telling you that he has only scored more than 14.6 points 2 times this season.
It will be 3 times on Sunday.
One of those
times,
get
him, Sammy.
One of those times was against Cleveland, where he only scored 2.8 points.
Yeah, well, Cleveland rocks. I made that up.
Never heard that before. Not once. All right. A running back that we're going to talk about now is Isaiah Crowell. 12.8 points he is projected. The Dolphins have allowed the second most yards over the last 5 weeks at 752 yards allowed. Only second to one team that we'll talk about later on in this podcast. And they've allowed 7 touchdowns to Isaiah Crowell. We've talked about how touchdown dependent he is. Do you think he beats that 12.8? Is it a Crowell game for you this week?
It is, and he had a very terribly below average game against them earlier in the season. I'm going to still tell you to march him out there. He is my sleeper running back of the week, and people say, "Oh, how can he be a sleeper? He got off to such a great start." Because over the last 3 weeks, he has a total of 91 yards rushing, or maybe 94. Maybe that's the number. Right? It's somewhere between those two numbers, a total over the last 3 weeks. But Miami has just been so bad against the run. I think the Jets will be smart enough to hand him the ball a ton and feed him. Elijah McGuire is going to be active in this game, but I don't know that they just get him out there for a ton of touches. He'll probably be catching passes. I've seen him work this kid Trenton Cannon in a little bit, but yeah, this is you can't put him on your bench. Ignore what happened way back at the beginning of the season and get him in there.
All right, and on the Dolphins side of the ball, Kenny Stills questionable right now, so he's going to be going into that game with a little bit of an injury. We know what's happened with the rest of their wide receivers, most of them being injured. Devontae Parker's still there, but you don't want any part of that. Kenyon Drake.
You missed on Tuesday when I called him the great tease, Devontae Parker, because he comes back and gets 9 targets and whoops ass for 130-something yards, and then don't buy the hype. Don't buy it.
Don't do it. He's going to hurt you. He's going to break your heart, much like Sal does. I don't know what that was. Anybody else from this game? Kenyon Drake, I think he's a very startable running back, obviously. But outside of them, anybody else that you want to get in there?
Yeah, I mean, just when you feel comfortable starting Drake, you know what's going to happen, right?
He's going to screw you.
Frankie Gore is going to go off, but I think you got to start your guys there. And it's tough because the Jets, I also want to go back to what you said about the wide receivers. The Jets are bad against wide receivers, so it's tough not to start these guys there. But with the injuries and the whole Brock Lobster thing going on, I probably stayed away from this game on a whole outside of Isaiah Crowell. But Herndon, right? Is that the kid's name? 3 weeks with touchdowns in a row. Interesting. Very interesting guy. Miami, not good against the tight end. If you're desperate, he's an idea. Steve says no.
You're crazy.
3 weeks in a row with a touchdown.
I know. All good things must come to an end, my friend. They must.
You know who's given up the most touchdowns to tight ends over the last 3 weeks?
It better be Miami.
It is Miami, sir.
All right. Good placement of that stat in the podcast there.
I know what I'm doing.
I can tell you're a professional.
I'm a vet.
All right. Moving on. The Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Baltimore to face the Ravens, where the Ravens are 2-point favorites here. And we've got Big Ben on the road.
On the road against a real tough QB defense.
That's right. So Big Ben is projected for 17.1 points. We know the Ravens are second versus quarterbacks this season overall for the entirety of the season. Only 10 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. That might not be overall. That might be the last 5 weeks. Seems like not a lot.
Well, what would you like to ask me, Steve? I didn't really hear a question.
Yeah, I said 17.1 for Big Ben, and it is 10 on the season. Suck it. I got it right.
Yeah, he's not hitting that number.
Not getting 17?
No, he sucks. No, I mean, listen, this is not a good spot for him. It's just not a good spot for him. I'll get it out of the way for you. AB and Connor, those are the only 2 guys I'm starting on this offense this week. Maybe McDonald, maybe Vance McDonald.
No Juju for you?
No, I wouldn't play Juju. He hasn't really been that good lately. I mean, after a really good start the first couple of weeks, he's got 1 touchdown since and 1 100-yard game, but they weren't at the same time, unfortunately. He's just been kind of average outside of that. I don't think he's had that big breakout year everybody was expecting. So in a game like this against a tough defense, I mean, I understand that 6 teams on a bye, but go start Christian Kirk or something.
I don't know. Christian Kirk over Juju?
I would never tell you to do that. It was a joke.
Oh, my God.
But Baltimore is 5th overall against wide receivers on the season.
They're good.
They're dang good. Dang, diggity, dang.
All right. Killed all the momentum there. Well, I was going to ask you about James Conner, not whether or not you should start him, because, yes, you should, but he is projected for 17.5 points, which is a ton against this defense. The Ravens are very good, like you said. They've only allowed 88 receiving yards to running backs, and now I have to check because I didn't write it down, which means if I didn't write it down, that it probably means for the entire season, which is insane.
It is for the entire season, 88.
Yeah, so 17.5 seems a little high against this defense. What do you think over under James Conner on that mark?
Yeah, I say under, and Conner has been great. He's been a godsend for anybody who was lucky enough to grab him if you drafted Bell, and he's been a thorn in your side if you were not lucky enough to get him. So you obviously play him because we read these numbers the other night, Steve. He is on pace to just obliterate what Le'Veon Bell's best season ever was. He has 7 20-plus yard runs this year, and Le'Veon Bell had that combined over 2016 and 17. He's just been really, really good. I don't know that he's a better player, but the situation is better for him right now, and he's taken advantage of it. So that's a big number, though. I'll say under.
All right. And are there any Ravens that you are concerned about or eager to get into your lineup? Alex Collins has been dealing with a foot injury, I believe, this week. He does look like he's on track to play, but be very careful with that. I think Buck Allen is a good play for the Ravens this week. What about
Alex Collins did an Irish jig at practice today.
Oh, good.
So they said he is cleared and good and ready to go, and he ran comfortably on both feet as opposed to running on one foot. Yeah, Steelers are good against the running backs this year, and they're even been good against pass-catching running backs. They've, which is odd for them because they usually give up a lot to pass catching running backs. But I wouldn't start Flacco this week, but I'd be okay with all the wide receiver targets in this game. The Steelers have not been good against the pass game. So I'd get him in there. And like you said, you like Allen maybe because they're going to pass the ball a lot. So I could see that a little bit more. I'm going to have to start Collins in a few places because they're deep leagues where I have to put him in there. I'm hoping for the best, but I don't love it. But Smokey and the boys. And Hayden Hurst, by the way, who did get a touchdown last week.
Yes, he did.
Said that 13 people actually heard that.
That's right.
I would be okay starting even him this week. I am starting him in Yahoo this week. Yeah.
All right. I think that's it. We're going to move along. I thought I had something else to say, and I forgot what it was.
Ben's a piece of garbage?
No, it wasn't about that. Oh. I mean, that is true, but it's not about that.
I'll make sure I get that in there.
All right, we're just going to have to move on because we're behind already. All right, the Lions going to Minnesota to face the Vikings. The Lions are underdogs in this game, which might not necessarily be surprising, but it's by 5.5 points. And if you've been watching football, it seems like the Lions are a pretty good team. So I think that number seems a little bit big. What about you, Sal?
Matt's on the road. They have played good defense lately. They really have. They've had a nice little balance with the run game. Yeah, I think Minnesota will beat them by at least 7.
All right, fair. All right. So we saw the trade deadline. I know you guys talked about Golden Tate moving from Detroit to Philadelphia. So we've got Marvin Jones and Kenny Golladay taking over the top 2 spots on this Lions offense. They are projected for 11.5 for Marvin Jones, 11.3 for Kenny Golladay. Do you think those numbers are low, high, right where they should be? And do you think each of these guys are going to eclipse these numbers going up against the 7th best defense against wide receivers? Only 4 touchdowns allowed over the last 5 weeks for the Vikings.
That's like almost 1 a week.
Yeah, that's only 1 though. That's not a lot. It's not 2.
It's tough. We talked about it, like you said the other night, and I got a little excited because I have so much Marvin Jones stock that I really got excited that Tate is out of there because it means good things. And I was down on Jones last week. I had him as my landmine last week, and he was the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy. So it was not a good look for me. But hey, you take the good, you take the bad, you take the both, and there you have Mrs. Garrett. It's hard to predict which one of these guys will go over that number. It really is. It really is. I'll say this. These are numbers I gave out the other night, and I'll bring them up again in case you missed that show. Marvin Jones leads the team in air yards percentage. He leads the team in red zone targets or end zone targets, and he leads the team in targets inside the 10-yard line. So the guy most likely to score a touchdown is Marvin Jones. Kenny Galladay's targets over the last few weeks after the big start have been mediocre, like below 4 or 4 a week.
Wow.
Obviously, that'll go up now because Tate is vacated some. But I trust Marvin Jones right now a little bit more than Golladay. But, let's see. Let's see post-Tate how everybody is used. So I'll say Jones goes over and Golladay doesn't.
All right. I'm not going to ask you a projection question, but a more a question about your feelings, Sal. How do you feel about Dalvin Cook coming back for a limited play count this week instead of just holding him out this one more week, letting the bye week come and go, giving him another 2 weeks of rest?
I don't like it because I have to put him in there in 1 league, right? It's a crazy bye week for me in Capitalist Pigs 3, and I have to put him in there. My team is so mediocre at best that I have to find players that are somewhat fantasy relevant and put them in there. I started Kendrick Bourne last night in that league. That's how the guy who caught the second touchdown. Yeah, he scored a touchdown against the Raiders last night. You could have probably got one, Steve, if you were in there. So
maybe I did.
I think from a reality standpoint, it's a bad idea. I think from a guy who's going to have to use them this week, I hope they're lying about the snap count. And I hope he starts to look good and they just leave him in there and he keeps going because I need him. I need you.
So you are selfishly hoping that he forgoes the rest and has a great game this week and doesn't re-injure himself, obviously, as opposed to them just maybe seeing if he should get a few more weeks rest because his injury has held him out for the entirety of the season so far. Is that what I was hearing? Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was about me.
It's not. It's not. It's really not. All right, real quick. Kyle Rudolph. projected for 7.5, going up against a Detroit defense that is the 5th worst against tight ends over the last 5 weeks, giving up 3 touchdowns. No touchdowns scored for Kyle Rudolph since week 3. Is it a Kyle Rudolph game?
It could be. It's just not a good. It's not a good tight end defense. I mean, I'm watching him out there wherever I have him. Most leagues we have Kyle Rudolph. He's your number 1 guy, and you're playing him every week. It's not something that's usually a question, but I think you could expect a good return for your value this week.
All right, we are going to move along. The Atlanta Falcons are traveling north to Washington to face the football team that resides there. Tevin Coleman projected.
For those of you at home who don't know, Steve's uncomfortable saying the name of this franchise. He's uncomfortable with it. He's taking a stand.
I'm not uncomfortable with it. I have been told other people are uncomfortable with it, and so I respect their point of view. That's all.
So you're good with them being named that.
No. Damn you. God damn you. All right. Anyway, Tevin Coleman projected for 11.2 points. He's only averaging 10.9, which is only 0.3 points less. So right around that average. But Washington, over the last 5 weeks, the best defense against running backs, only allowing 167 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns over that span, is 11.2, as modest as it is, a little high for Tevin Coleman.
Yes, it is. He is my landmine running back of the week, Steve. I would not be starting Tevin Coleman unless I was absolutely desperate. The Redskins are playing good football. The Redskins are 5-2 and in command of the NFC East. And they're doing it by playing good defense and running the ball. So, it's like 1987 all over again.
Good times. It was a good year.
Bad hair.
You had hair. Better time. All right, Julio Jones still hasn't scored a touchdown, even after last week when he was on his bye. 16.3 points he is projected for. Washington, 5th worst against wide receivers over the last 5 weeks. Is this the week Julio Jones scores a touchdown?
I don't know if I could project that, but I have noticed them just force-feeding him the ball in recent weeks. The yardage and the receptions are there. I think he hits that number whether he gets the touchdown or not because he's just that friggin' good. But God, I hope he gets a touchdown.
I want him to explode with the touchdowns. I had a lot of trade offers for him last week in a few leagues that I have him, and I turned them all down because I assume that the touchdowns will come. Even if it's only 3, which is how many he had last year, at least they'll be at good times.
That would be a strong
down the stretch or in the playoffs, that's fine. I will take the 3 touchdowns, but man, I want him to start scoring some more touchdowns. All right, Atlanta. They're the worst against wide receivers, but the Washington doesn't have any wide receivers.
There are none. They're playing with none.
So who are you going to use to take advantage of this awesome matchup for Washington?
Jordan Reed.
Jordan Reed?
Yeah.
You like him this week, huh?
Yeah, I'd play him over anybody. That Maurice Harris kid might shock you.
I'm not easily shocked.
Jameson Crowder's not playing again. Paul Richardson.
Hurt. What about Josh Dotson? Is he playing?
I'm sorry. Did you say Dotson like the car?
Dotson.
It's called
we got
Nissan.
Dotson here.
It's Nissan now. No, I'm not starting any wide receivers on this team. I just can't.
That's sad.
It's bad. I'm so sad.
Are you sad? Hey, Sal. If you're sad, you should know that watching football is fun. But it is more entertaining when you have some action on the game. You've heard me talk about this for weeks, and some of you are still on the sidelines for some reason. Whether you're an expert or a rookie, you should be betting at MyBookie. If you're the kind of guy that likes to bet a little and win a lot, like playing the numbers on roulette, you can create a big parlay, which is what I like to do. I don't win very often, but I like to do it. You pick 3 teams to win, and if you hit all 3, you can turn $100 into $600 just like that. There's so much to bet on at MyBookie, like playoff baseball, which is now over because the Red Sox crushed the Dodgers, thankfully. But basketball has just started up, hockey's going, and then huge UFC fights all the time. MyBookie is one bet I know that you will be happy with all year. I recommend these guys because I trust them. They've been in business for years. They've got great online reviews, and their mobile site is easy to use. And backed by popular demand, MyBookie will offer a 100% bonus for 1 more week this year. That's right. Have you been thinking about placing a pick all season and have not manned up yet? Well, it's time to make that move. After Sunday's kickoff, you can kiss that bonus goodbye. Also, make sure that you follow at BetMyBookie on Twitter or Instagram. They personally respond to every mention in DM, not to mention that they've given away nearly $10,000 in free money to their followers this football season. You will be the first to know as soon as new odds and props are posted on the site. Log on to MyBookie right now. Don't miss out on your last opportunity to collect the industry's biggest bonus. Use our promo code FFL, and you will get your first deposit matched 100%. That is promo code FFL. You play, you win, you get paid, Sal. Money.
You know, you could also kiss that bonus goodbye if you're Kevin and you're betting on the Raiders.
That's true.
I want to point out something today. So here in New York, they have an advertisement for another one of these gambling sites. And I won't say the name of the site. I'll just tell you that their initials are FD, and they've been involved in daily fantasy sports for a while. And this is the advertisement.
I know a few you speak.
This is the advertisement that they post here in New York. You can download the app and you can see all the games, but you must be in New Jersey to make your bets. So just pop over to New Jersey to make your bets. Have you ever tried to get from New York to New Jersey? It's like the hardest effing thing to do. The traffic involved in just going over a bridge or through a tunnel from New York to New Jersey is not worth the stupid little bet that you may win. So download MyBookie. Sit in the comfort of your own home in New York or anywhere in this free friggin' country and place your bets in comfort, not in traffic, not using your Easy Pass. For God's sakes.
Not using the Easy Pass. That's great. Shall we move along? Would you like to continue? All right.
Yes.
All right. The Houston Texans going to Mile High to face the Denver Broncos, which is a weird week considering what happened at the trade deadline with Demaryius Thomas moving from the Denver Broncos to the Houston Texans. And of course, yeah, it did.
Oh.
And of course, they play each other this week. So Demaryius Thomas, new home, Houston, new quarterback, Deshaun Watson, projected for 9.3 points. He's only scored more than that in 3 of 8 games so far this season, Sal. Does the new territory coming back and facing the old home team, does that give him the juice he needs to get past 9.3?
Juicy. That really is an interesting scenario, getting to come right back and play your team in the same week, which, by the way, they'll be doing a tribute video to him before the game. That's got to pump up the feels.
Which is awesome. He is a great Bronco. I'm upset that he didn't finish his career there, but I understand it's the business, all that kind of stuff. He is a very memorable part of recent Broncos history with catching the touchdown pass from Tim Tebow in that crazy playoff game, winning the Super Bowls with Peyton Manning, losing the Super Bowl with Peyton Manning. He's just been there for a lot. So sad to see him go, but hope things work out for him in Houston.
Yeah, he's like the new Rod Smith.
Yeah.
It's so interestingly here, we don't know how much he's going to actually play, I think, yet, right? Where the Cowboys came right out today and said Amari Cooper's going to play. He's not going to be eased in. He's going to be thrown out there. We haven't really heard that about Demaryius Thomas. He's going to fill the void that's left by Will Fuller, and Will Fuller catches a touchdown essentially every time he touches the field. We said the other night he doesn't have the same legs as Will Fuller at this point in his career to get open, but Will Fuller doesn't have those legs anymore either at this point. But this is one I think I play him because of a revenge game, and I hope that he gets the touchdown because he's going to need the touchdown to break that total. That's my opinion. So, but it's going to be fun to watch. It's one I'm going to definitely lock my eyes in on.
Great.
As opposed to my ears.
Great. All right, Philip Lindsay got his first opportunity as being the main guy last week with Royce Freeman out. He showed up with 18.7 points, so a very solid week over his projection like we thought he was going to get. But this week, he's facing a Texans defense that has been number 12 against running backs over the last 5 weeks. Only one rushing touchdown allowed over that span, but 4 receiving touchdowns allowed to running backs. Philip Lindsay is projected for 14 points this week. Sal, what say you about that?
Is Freeman out again? Did they already say he's out?
If he's not been ruled out, he will be. He is not going to play this week.
Yeah. What was the point total?
14.
Boy, that's a high point total in this matchup. boy, I plop him out there, of course, because he's just been so very good. He has been a godsend to anybody who intelligently scooped him up late or was the first to grab him off the waivers. Devontae Booker's got some interesting play and receptions in the meantime. Lindsey has caught 18 of the 23 targets he's gotten thrown his way, but they should throw him a little bit more. I'll say he goes under the 14, but he gives you a solid day. It's a 10 to 12 point day as an RB2, which is good for your team. Maybe a flex play.
All right. And Lamar Miller, who's had a little bit of a resurgence lately, has rushed for over 100 yards the last 2 weeks. He is going up against a Denver team that has allowed the most rushing yards for their last 5 weeks. I mentioned the Dolphins were second on that list, that we would talk about a team that was worse than that, and it's my damn Broncos. They're awful against the run. Lamar Miller, 13.6 points projected, over under.
13.6, Mr. 11 points. Last 2 weeks he's been up around 18 and 19. So I'm going to go over. I think that they've started to lean on Miller a little bit more. Interestingly enough, not catching the ball a ton. I think he's got like 3 targets over the last few weeks. It's just not a lot catching the ball, and he's usually a two-way player. But yeah, I'll say over just because I need him somewhere, and I want him to feel good about himself.
You're not allowed to give your answers based on what you need.
I need him to be good.
So do you think he'll be over that, or do you want him to be over
I say he runs for 100 and falls into the end zone.
All right.
That's 16 for those of you at home keeping score.
All right. The Chargers traveling north to the great northwest of Seattle to face the Seahawks. If you had to guess the spread on this game, what would you guess?
A spread guesser on this game.
Guesser.
It's in Seattle, huh?
Yep.
I think San Diego, what an idiot. I think Los Angeles is the better team, but Seattle's played so well lately, and that secondary is good. I'll say it's Seattle favored by 2.
Seattle favored by 2. You are not right. You are wrong. It's a pick'em. It is a pick'em. It is a close game.
Wow.
So
pick them if you got them.
That's right. We've got the Chargers coming off their bye week in week 8, and Phillip Rivers in Seattle. Not the same defense you'd assume, but Seattle is second best against quarterbacks over the last 5 weeks, and they've only allowed 1 touchdown per game passing on average to quarterbacks over their last 4 games. So do you think Phillip Rivers is a lock to get 17.4 points?
No way. Not at all. I worry about him in this game. I think they'll lean heavily on the run if Melvin Gordon is fully healthy. I just don't think they'll do enough to get 17 points. That's a lot.
Is 17 points a lot? It doesn't seem like a lot. It seems like the average.
Well, yeah. I think I wrote in my article this week that there are 12 quarterbacks in the NFL this year that are averaging over 20 points a game in fantasy. So legitimately, everybody should have a 20-plus point scorer. And Phillip Rivers is down around number 12. I think he is right around 20 points a game that he averages, just over 20. He might be my landmine quarterback actually this week. I'd have to go back and check. I wrote that so many days ago, like 3, that I'm getting old and I can't remember these things. I just don't think it's a good week for him. I say Seattle beats them. They shut it down.
Beats them? Is this going to be another typical second half? Seattle turns it on, comes in second place in the division. They're not going to overtake the Rams. But do you think Seattle's going to turn into a playoff team by the end of the season?
Yeah, I mean, they're above 500 now, right? They've won 4 out of 5, I think. And they look good. And Russell Wilson has thrown 3 touchdown passes in 3 straight games, 1 interception. He forgot how to run.
Weird.
We were doing this the other night. Do you know what slow-footed quarterback who has not even played in recent weeks has more rushing yards on the season than Russell Wilson? Hint, he got a starting job back this week.
Ryan Fitzpatrick
has more rushing yards on the season. Tyrod Taylor, who hasn't played in 4 weeks, has more rushing yards on the season than Russell Wilson. That's crazy. I think he has like 88 rushing yards.
That's crazy.
On the season, but he really is right now. The way he's played, he's like an MVP candidate. He's got that team above 500, and he's he's played flawless passing football. So I like Seattle right now.
All right. Speaking of Seattle, we're going to talk about Doug Baldwin, who comes into this week as overall wide receiver like 105 or something like that. Something awful. He's projected for 9.6
That
points, though,
total
still.
point. The guy missed a lot of games.
No, he didn't miss that many games. It wasn't that many.
Missed like 3.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
The total.
Anywho, projected for 9.6 points. He has only passed that one time in the 4 games that he has been active for. And the Chargers are the best against wide receivers, only allowing 45 receptions and 2 touchdowns to the position over their last 4 games. Doug Baldwin over or under 9.6 points.
I'll say under. He hasn't been somebody you can rely on since he's back, and the touchdowns are going Tyler Lockett and David Moore's way right now. So,
which is weird.
Yeah, David Moore. We talked about him a lot the other night, and it's interesting. I don't know if he's a great play in this particular game, and I try to snatch him up if you can after this week. If he has a poo-poo game, go grab him. I don't like any of the wide receivers in this game, though.
On both sides?
Yeah, pretty much. Keenan Allen is my landmine wide receiver of the week. He had 100 yards on a touchdown in week 1 and has not hit either of those since. He has 0 touchdowns since and 0 100-yard games. Receptions have kept him alive as a viable player. He's like 27th overall in the season. It's just not good. And Terrell Williams and Mike Williams score touchdowns. And Melvin Gordon is so involved in the passing game that it's really, you have to look at your lineup and decide if you want to play Keenan Allen right now.
Crazy. So should we talk about the best games of the week?
Thought Oakland and San Francisco already played.
Anyway, the Rams are traveling to New Orleans to face the Saints, where the Saints are home dogs, plus 1.5 points for the Saints, a total which I have read just as recently as about an hour ago. The total has moved up to 60 points.
Nice.
So there will be points to be scored. Alvin Kamara projected for 17.5 points this week. The Rams have been a top 10 run defense the last 5 weeks. They are only allowing 18 points per game to the running back position total, and have only allowed 3 total touchdowns to running backs over that span. 17.5 for Kamara. Is that a little high?
It is high. It definitely is high. I could see them having to grind this one out a little bit more. And the percentages have really changed, actually, into Kamara's favor with him and Ingram over the 3 weeks that Ingram was back. That first week, I think they really just want to still give Kamara a little bit more rest coming out of the bye. They figured it'd be a good opportunity, but he's up to 70% of the snaps to Ingram's 30 and change at this point. But that is a high number. I mean, this guy can score 2 touchdowns at any time and make that number seem easy. But I'll say he's below it this week.
All right. And Michael Thomas, who showed up on the injury report dealing with, I believe it was a shoulder injury. Seems like he's going to be good to go. He is projected for 14.5 points. The Rams are one of 3 teams to have allowed over 1,000 yards to wide receivers, receiving yards over the last 5 weeks. In a league leading 9 touchdowns. Is Michael Thomas safe to go over that 14.5?
Yeah, I think that's a modest number considering they are the worst wide receiver defense in the league. But Michael Thomas has not been good for like 4 weeks. I think he has 1 touchdown at a time, but his yardage has been very minor after just a start where he was looking to obliterate all-time numbers. And Adam Thielen has put him in his rearview mirror, but I could see him hitting that number easily.
Adam Thielen, best wide receiver in the league for sure.
That's what I hear.
Yeah. The Rams. You're going to start all them because they play a really good offensive type of football, right?
Yeah, they're pretty snazzy.
Cooper Kupp coming back after missing the last 2 weeks with a knee injury. Do you just pop him right back into the old lineup?
I'm popping him back in there. I had a question somebody asked me this week about Cooper. Actually, here's an interesting one, Steve. He asked me in his flex, should he start Cooper Kupp or Demaryius Thomas? Upon further investigation, so this was 2 days ago, and I told him that if Kupp is healthy and he is playing, you play him over Demaryius Thomas. Upon further investigation of his lineup, do you know who he had on his bench as well?
Who?
One Keenan Allen. He wasn't even considering him.
Oh, what? What?
Yes. Yeah, well, I would start Cooper Kupp over Keenan Allen this week. I'd be okay.
Really? Interesting. I don't know. That's still I hold Keenan Allen near and dear to my heart. I'm a
Yeah,
big
well, it's
fan.
time to move on.
Really, is he done? Keenan Allen washed now. He's done. He's over
His
with.
career is over. No, but right now, until I see it, something different. If I have a guy who's when he stepped on a field been, a top 10 wide receiver, I'm playing him. Keenan Allen, somewhere near 30, not years old.
That's true.
But ranking.
That's true. Hey, Ben Watson's an old guy. You're an old guy. What happened to Ben Watson this year?
I think last week I had him in an article of mine, and he got missed on a wide open touchdown earlier.
He put up David Njoku numbers last week.
Yeah, Blanco. But he was missed on a wide open touchdown by Breeze early in the year. Then he dropped the wide open touchdown, and his numbers would be so much different with just those 2 touchdowns for a tight end this year. So it's little things like that where you miss it. And the other guy, Josh Hill, is that his name, Josh Hill? He always sneaks in there once in a while and has a good game or a touchdown here or there. And yeah, I just think that Watson is a matchup dependent, touchdown dependent tight end, which most tight ends are touchdown dependent, like Eric Ebron. But he catches them every week.
All right, we're going to move on before you talk about Eric Ebron any longer.
He's not going to catch one this week, I'll tell you that much.
Jack Doyle's back, baby.
But
Jack? That's true. Anywho, the best game of the week, one that our dear Kevin will be attending, the Green Bay Packers going to New England to face the Patriots Sunday Night Football. Patriots are 6-point favorites in this game, which I think is a lot. 57-point total here, so lots of points. And I want to talk about Rob Gronkowski, projected for 11 points, even though he's going up a Green Bay defense that against tight ends over the last 5 weeks are the best. They've given up 12 receptions and 116 yards total over that span. Why is Gronk projected for 11 points when he has not been good lately?
Because he's Gronk, right? And he could have a Gronk game at any time.
Yeah.
Not healthy again this week, though. He has not been practicing. It would definitely worry me. I would have a backup plan just in case you get that way. And this is a Sunday night game. So you need to either grab somebody else on New England who they'd never have used them anymore. Or years ago, it used to be like, oh, just fill in whoever the backup is. And it doesn't work like that anymore. Or one of the pieces of garbage that play for the Cowboys on Monday night or Tennessee on Monday night is really not even a viable guy in any one of those offenses. But I'd have a backup plan because it wouldn't be the first time that Bill Belichick has pulled the wool out from underneath or wool over your eyes or pulled the rug out from underneath you. I don't know. It's all different fabrics.
That's right.
And not play Gronkowski. But yeah, I'd be a little nervous.
In a small league, 8-team league, so nothing crazy. Family league last night. I was looking at it. I had Gronkowski in my starting lineup. I flipped him and put Kittle in right at the last minute.
That worked out. Eric Weddle might have had more points than Gronkowski this week too.
Maybe.
You never know.
Maybe we got to get my family into the old IDP.
Sweet one-handed catch by Kittle. He almost took it to the house.
Yeah. Kittle. He is good.
George Kittle might be the guy going forward after this year that makes that leap up into top 5 overall tight ends for his career.
Just got to stay healthy. The injuries, he either has an injury scare or he gets hurt. He had some injury problems last year. Is the only thing I think really holding him back. And then if we could see Jimmy Garoppolo there for an entire season, maybe if they had a run game.
Nick Mullins, baby.
That's true. The Nick Mullins experience is upon us. All right, other side of the ball for the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Jones finally seemed to be the guy last week. He had 12 rushes for 80-plus yards. He did get into the end zone. He is projected for 11.4 points this week against a Pats defense that is very middle of the pack against running backs. Is this Aaron Jones' job now after Ty Montgomery was shipped off to Baltimore this week for the most meaningless pick that you could ever receive in return for a player?
Yeah, that was a get the hell out of here.
Yeah, that was you cost us this game because had you not fumbled, Aaron Rodgers would have driven us into field goal range and we would have won.
We discussed it the other night about the Packer fans, assuming they would have won that game. But
anyway, I'm not a Packers fan, and I assume that they would have won.
You'll have been fooled by the fact that he's done it every other time.
Yeah.
I think it is Aaron Jones' backfield. I think Jamal Williams will not just disappear completely. We saw he got a goal line carry and a touchdown last week that made his week relevant if you did start him. But Aaron Jones actually ran 14 routes that Jamal Williams is 4 last week. He snapped him on passing downs as well. 60+% of the snaps last week, by far his highest of his career, except for maybe when Williams was hurt. But while Williams is healthy, but I think he's the lead back there now. I think there was just too much pressure and too much obvious, film that said we got to give this guy more touches.
The over-under for this game is 57. What are you taking on that?
But these games are difficult because we seemingly think that there'll be these high-scoring shootouts, and a lot of times, even especially on a Sunday night, it doesn't happen.
Because
if you don't watch the live version of this show, you miss out on a lot, because when I went to go talk at the same time as Steve, he froze up like he swallowed a canary. I think it goes. I wouldn't say it goes under.
Yep. I was gonna say you get these big, these teams that have really good offenses, but they still want to win the game. It's not just about putting up points. So they might try to control the ball a little bit more once they get up, or if they get a lead, something like that. They might take the foot off the pedal a little bit more if they were playing somebody else. So I could definitely see it going slightly under the 57.
27-23, final score.
All right. You're saying a touchdown under. I see. Anyway, Monday Night Football, last game of the week. Unfortunately, we have to talk about it. We're contractually obligated. The Titans facing the Dallas Cowboys. This total is not 57. It's 40.5. But the Cowboys are 5.5-point favorites. I don't even want to talk about this game, but Amari Cooper's there. 8.8 points he is projected for in a half-point PPR. You talked about how he was going to be thrown in there and how he is going to play. What do you think about Amari Cooper being projected for almost 9 points?
So I have this matchup tool in front of me that my good friend shared with me.
All right.
Goes by his initials are SF. And it has all the defensive stats in either red for really good defense, yellow for middle of the pack, and green, obviously, for not a good defense player plays against them. And both teams in all 4 categories, with the exception of wide receivers for Tennessee, is in the red. Dallas red against QBs, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. Tennessee against QBs, running backs, tight ends. So I think they're going to try to make a point and force the ball to Amari Cooper in this game and try to get him a touchdown and try and get him acclimated right away. So I'm going to say he's going to go over that number because I think he's going to catch a touchdown. And Tennessee has just not been good against wide receivers this year. So
how many targets do you think Amari Cooper is going to get this week? I'll say over under 10.5.
I was going to say 75, but boy, that's a really good number, Steve. If you were setting lines, it's a good number because 10 is where I think it'll be at, So I'll conservatively say under on that.
All right. I didn't really have anybody else planned to talk about for this game. I don't even know if I'm going to watch it.
There's really, that's saying a lot, but if you want Gaga 5'2", it's on Netflix. You can watch that because evidently that's suggested.
It's odd that they suggested that and not that House of Cards, the final season was released today on Friday.
They might know that I've never seen a single other season of House of Cards, or know that there is how many seasons of House of Cards there actually is.
I believe, I don't know exactly off the top of my head. I believe this is the 5th or 6th season. It is the final season, and it's a great show. You should watch it.
I guess the 5 or 6 years of me not clicking on Netflix has really sunken into their database.
That's true. They know you're not a fan.
Which worries me about what I have clicked on in order to get Lady Gaga.
Exactly. You have a lot of internal searching to do once we get done with this podcast, which is now. We're done.
Wrap it up.
All right. Well, thank you guys for hopefully listening to this episode of the Fantasy Football Funhouse. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can search for us on Twitter at FF Funhouse. And then, of course, you can go to fantasyfootballfunhouse.com where you will find all of our past podcasts. You'll find other podcasts from The Gut Feels. Our buddies over at The Gut Feels, Jason Tran, Derek Creef, they do a podcast every once in a while whenever they feel like it. And I think that's all that's really going on there right now, Sal.
Well, very cool. Very great. Very wonderful. You can check me out over on fanball.com. And
I knew I knew you from somewhere.
Go over there and blow a little money on DFS. Everybody talks about all these other sites, but Fanball has it there, and I think there's less sharks playing over there. So
why don't we have a promo code for Fanball DFS?
Scott Fish, paging Scott Fish. Code needed. Promo code needed.
Initials are SF.
Check out all of our sponsors. Check out thequantedge.com for all their podcasts and their chat and their weekly articles. They're helping you win money in both DFS. They have the new betting tool out, and if you enter our code FF Funhouse, you will get $10 off the first month of that. Oh, sound like somebody was happy about that.
$10. That's a new subscriber right there.
Bam. $10 off the first month, and they are kicking ass with the betting tool. It's absolutely worth the price of admission. Full Bags, FUL, fullbags.com. Check them out. Just put in code Funhouse, 20% off. You can check us out on the Gridiron Experts Network. We are part of that family. Plenty of great podcasts, great information, everything you need to become a fantasy football champion could be found on gridironexperts.com. And for our good friend Kevin Cotillo, who could not make it again, I will remind you that you should make a charitable donation, part of your fantasy experience. Take a league fee, gather some money up from a group of guys, and you all get together on Sunday to watch the games together at somebody's house, win it drunk, steal money out of their wallets, and just send it to somewhere that makes you feel good about yourself. And until next time, Funhouse Americans.
All right, I just want you to look right now and see that it still says live at the top of your screen.
It does.
Okay, it says that for me as well, just in case something happens. I'm hitting stop the broadcast.